You know, in a way, to me anyway, Wisconsin is always one of the easiest prediction and preview videos that I do every single offseason. Not that I follow Wisconsin all that closely. It just seems like most years Wisconsin is about the same team, right? Really good defense, really good offensive line, really good running back, game managing QB, no real game changing wide receivers, and you can pencil them in for about 9-10 wins a year, no matter what. Obviously, that wasn't the case last year. Wisconsin did have a down year last year, and we'll talk about that some in this video. But up today is a preview 2021 Wisconsin Badgers. Let's go. Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou. I'm live for you on LouTube today, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And hey, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Some of them are even watchable, I promise. So if you're not satisfied with this video, try another one. I'm pretty sure you can find one or two on this channel somewhere that you actually like. At the end of this video, let me know in the comment section down below if you think I got this prediction right or wrong. If you think I'm wrong, let me know which games it is you think Wisconsin wins and loses. All right, Paul Chryst is back at Wisconsin, and is this his 7th year? 7th year as head coach at Wisconsin. He does lose 4 position coaches that he had to replace in the offseason, but he's back for his 7th year. They were 3-3 last year in a shortened regular season. They finished 4-3 after a win in a mayonnaise bowl. Weird, against Wake Forest. That makes Paul Chryst 5-1 so far at Wisconsin in bowl games. Here's his win total so far in Madison. 10 wins, 11 wins, 13 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins, and then the odd year last year with 4 wins. He's got 2 New Year's Six bowl wins and a New Year's Six bowl loss. His only bowl loss, I believe, was a Rose Bowl loss. Let's take a look at Wisconsin's offense for 2021 and see what it might look like. If you go back to last year, again, not good really offensively. 25 points per game, that's terrible. Worst since 2004. Wisconsin is still sort of an old school team. They're trying to transition, I think, to more of a modern day offense where they can spread the ball around some, get it downfield, big plays, explosive plays, expand the passing game. Didn't really work out all that well last year outside of the first game. Like I said, 25 points per game last year. They're worse since 2004. Quarterback Graham Mertz, after week 1, people were blown away. It was amazing. It was probably the best performance by a Wisconsin quarterback that we've seen, and honestly, I don't know when. In fact, he tied a school record for touchdowns in that game with 5 touchdown passes. That was the highlight of the year for Wisconsin. It was pretty much all downhill after that. After that opening game win, here's his stats for the other game. So excluding the first game, Graham Mertz completed 57% of his passes. He threw 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he went 3-3. And that includes a couple of bad losses, and turnovers really hurt Wisconsin last year. Even great teams have a hard time overcoming turnovers in a game. You can't turn the ball over. Good news for Wisconsin this year. Graham Mertz is back, 2nd season now as the starter. Full off-season, spring practice, summer conditioning, fall camp, and all of the top wide receivers from last year return. So the offense, at least in terms of the passing game, should be a lot better. Running back, we talked to the Wisconsin man. They think they have their next in a long line of great Wisconsin running backs in redshirt true freshman Jalen Berger. Offensive line, always good. You don't even really have to research any Wisconsin offensive lineman. You know they're going to have a good offensive line. They'll have a couple of 5-stars starting along the offensive line this year, including possibly a true freshman, their biggest recruit in last year's class. Over on the defense, another amazing year defensively from Wisconsin. Was it 2 years ago they had like 4 shutouts in one season? You know how hard that is to do? I don't care who you're playing. It's hard to shut out anybody. They did it 4 times. Last year's defense, top 10 nationally, and they get a ton of juniors and seniors returning to that defense this year. Their defense could end up being even better than last year's, where they led the Big Ten in total defense. They were number 9 in the nation in scoring defense, only giving up 17 points per game. 8 of those starters return, and like I mentioned, the majority of them are juniors and seniors. Linebackers, they got 3 really good ones that return. The defensive line is stout, and when you look at the secondary, that's probably the area on Wisconsin's defense where they're looking to improve. They didn't have a single cornerback on the team last year with an interception. That's amazing. No interceptions from your corners last year. You'd like to see them play a little bit better. But honestly, Wisconsin's going to have one of, if not the best defenses in the Big Ten. All of the question marks about Wisconsin, to me anyway, rely around Graham Mertz and the passing game. They've got to take the next step offensively in terms of moving the ball downfield through the air before they're going to get to the next step of where they want to go, which will be winning the Big Ten and potentially making a college football playoff. Could this be the year that they do it? I don't know. Let's put the schedule up on the screen and see if we can find out. They start things off like a lot of Big Ten teams this year with a Big Ten matchup at home against Penn State. I did the Penn State preview a day or two ago, so if you've seen it, you already know. I think Wisconsin wins this game. To me, this is a tough game to pick. Penn State is not nearly as bad as they looked last year. They're way too talented and way too well coached to be that bad of a team for multiple years in a row. It's not going to happen. They started out 0-4 last year, and people couldn't believe what they were seeing. 0-5, actually. But then they won their last 4 games of the year. So it was a tale of two teams. Which one of those two Penn State teams shows up here week 1 for this Wisconsin game? I don't know, but it's in Madison for that reason. I'm giving Wisconsin the win. You're 1-0. Week 2, a non-con game against a terrible Eastern Michigan team. I think you'll get the win there. Week 3 is a bye week. Piss poor scheduling here. Makes absolutely no sense to me to have a bye week this early in the season. Now, I know sometimes because of scheduling, things can be a little bit out of your control in terms of choosing the exact week that you want a bye week. But you got to get with the Big Ten office or whatever you got to do. You can't be having a bye week in week 3. You need it later in the season. Week 4, Notre Dame in a neutral site game at Soldier Field. Now, in this case, I guess the bye week at least is a benefit in terms of you get that bye week before one of your tougher games, which is the Notre Dame game. I've also done a Notre Dame version of this video already, so if you've seen it, you already know this too. I think you beat Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame takes a step back, particularly on offense this year. I think Wisconsin will be too tough defensively for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame will have a hard time scoring and moving the ball consistently enough against Wisconsin to win that game. You're 3-0. Then you play Michigan, and listen, I've got you losing to Michigan, and there's no rhyme or reason why. None. There is some rhyme and reason, and I'll get to it at the end. You get them at home. I'm not that high on Michigan. I think Harbaugh could find himself out of a job at the end of the year, but I think Michigan beats you. And more on that game here in a minute. Let me run through the rest of the schedule. Week 6 on the road at Illinois. Win. Brand new coaching staff there. Brett Bielema used to be your head coach too. Then he went to Arkansas and crapped the bed for a while. Now at Illinois. Then you play Army. What's the score of this game going to be? 10-7, 2 really good defenses. Army slows the game down. This is going to be a boring game to watch, but I think Wisconsin gets the win. At Purdue, win. Jeff Brom, one of the dumbest coaches around. He should have left Purdue a couple of years ago. They had that year where they beat Ohio State and were a pretty good team. And Brom, Brom's name was rising kind of up the coaching ranks. There were some other teams that reached out to him. He turned them all down. Now he could find himself in a situation at the end of this season where he's out of a job. I think Brom's on the hot seat at Purdue. I think you get a win on the road there. Purdue, no. Can't. They can't do. They don't. Home against Iowa, another low-scoring game that could go either way here. I've got you winning it, though. I think you beat Iowa. Week 10 on the road at an improved Rutgers team with Greg Schiano. Not improved enough to challenge Wisconsin. I think you get the win. Northwestern, again, the Big Ten has a lot of teams like this. Good. Even really good in some cases. Not elite, and that's where Northwestern is. I think Wisconsin, more talented than Northwestern. You get them at home. I think Wisconsin gets the win. Nebraska, win. By this point in the year, Scott Frost could have already been fired, honestly. I think it's going to be a rough year for Nebraska. Week 13, on the road at Minnesota, another win. That puts you at 11-1, and this takes me back to the Michigan game. It's extremely difficult to go 12-0. Very hard to go 12-0. Very few teams do it. We've seen Alabama do it a few times under Nick Saban. We have seen Clemson do it a couple of times under Dabo Swinney. We've seen Ohio State do it a couple of times recently. Outside of that, there has been a ton of really, 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 really good teams like Wisconsin who can't go undefeated. It's just very hard as a coaching staff to get a group of 18 to 23-year-olds to play at their highest level every single week, and that's what it takes to go undefeated. And for that reason, I had to find a loss on this schedule somewhere for Wisconsin because I just don't think they're going 12-0. So then it becomes a matter of just trying to figure out which game it is they might lose. Well, a lot of times when a team is good enough to go 12-0 but goes 11-1, we see them lose to a team that we expected them to beat and maybe beat a team or two that we thought they could lose to. And that's how I came down with Wisconsin. I think the Iowa game is pretty close to 50-50. The Northwestern game, maybe not 50-50, but not an easy one. Same thing, when you finish things off on the road at a good PJ Fleck Minnesota team, you potentially could lose any of those games. Notre Dame, you could lose that game. I'm going to go with the Michigan game. I think you get a big win against Notre Dame in week 4, celebrate a couple of days too long, and it costs you the following week against Michigan. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that pick. That's okay. If you disagree with the Michigan pick, let me know which game it is you think Wisconsin will lose, or do you honestly think they're going 12-0? I don't know, but that's where I came down with Wisconsin. The Badgers are going to finish the year 11-1 and earn a trip to the Big Ten title game for a date with most likely Ohio State. All right, I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good morning.